Hi there, everybody. My name is April, and I am doing a live broadcast of Long Story Short. It's a question and answer session. Um, this is my first one, so I'm still kind of figuring out exactly how everything works. But um, so I'll give a little bit of background so that way we can um, see what this is about. Back in June of 2016, well, let me backtrack even further than that. Back in April of 2016, I found a lump in my breast. And I wasn't even 40. I was still 39. I turned 40 in May. And, they tell you all the time you're supposed to be uh, getting your mammogram, your first one, at 40 years old. So I went ahead and did that. And of course, they found something too. And hi, Dave. Went ahead and did that, got the mammogram in June, and did a biopsy and confirmed that I was diagnosed with breast cancer. At that point, we didn't know what stage it was. We had to get some more testing done. Within about 3.5 weeks, we figured out that it went from about the size of a quarter in April to engulfing my whole breast in mid-July. And originally, we thought I was at stage 2, which means it includes the lymph nodes, and it spread to stage 4, which means that it went to some other part of my body. The other parts of my body that it engulfed or got into was my right arm, my lungs, and my sternum. So that's where all this started. Since then, it's been pretty much a whirlwind of how things go. The original plan was to do chemo, very aggressive chemo because of how aggressive the tumors were, and see how that, and then do a mastectomy and see how that went. Well, when it came time to do the mastectomy, we decided I did not need radiation. So I went ahead and put in what's called a tissue expander. Basically, it's something for the plastic surgeon to use to be able to reconstruct my breast. Turns out, though, a few weeks later, about 2 months later, the cancer came back, so I needed a radiation anyway. Ended up having to have my ovaries removed in the meantime. Did radiation for 15 treatments, and that radiation messed up my tissue expander. So just last week, I had my tissue expander taken out. My chemo originally went from July until September. I'm going to have to start another round of chemo in April, and it's going to be different. It's not going to be injectable. It's going to be these little pills that I have to take. Don't know exactly when in April, but going to start those soon to try and get rid of whatever's left. So that's where we are. I'm opening the floor up to questions. Don't worry about them being personal or out of line or anything like that. I'm ready for whatever gets asked. I know that it's probably not going to be a lot of people because, like I said, this is my first one. So here we go. If nobody's asking questions, then I'll just keep speaking. I did start a blog for a while, just kind of a this is where I'm at blog. This is how I feel about things. I stopped doing it a couple months ago, mostly because I was at a point where it was becoming too, not involved, that's not the right word, but it was becoming my only way of expressing my frustrations, and that just wasn't healthy in my mind. So that's why I put a pause on it. There was some videos in that blog. There was some videos and some written, so I just did both. But there were some pretty emotional ones, and it was pretty detailed. There was a point there when I was doing them every day. There was a point there when I was doing them, once a week or whatever, just kind of depended on what was going on. There was some other stuff in there, like I talked about the day I went and voted, talked about Veterans Day, things of that nature. Talked about some quilts that my awesome Nana made for me and my aunt. Just it was kind of me sharing about me, which was great. But like I said, it became very much about that was my only expression in it, and I didn't think that was very healthy. So, Dave, if you can tell me, is there a way to see who the viewers are? Because I can see that I have a feeling one of them is me. Other than just they say they're here. And I'll wait for you to answer that. But I guess let me give a little bit of information about my family history, because that's one of the biggest questions. Nope. Okay. Thanks, Dave. That's one of the biggest questions I get asked is, was there family history? Well, no, I'm the first person. Oh, it's not. Okay. Thanks, Dave. I know it's you, obviously, but I don't know who else it is. I'm the first person in my entire family on both sides biologically to get breast cancer, and honestly non-biologically too. First one to get breast cancer going back at least 5 generations. My dad's side of the family is Cajun and American Indian, so there's only so far back we can go. My mom's side of the family is German, so there's only so far back we can go, because they immigrated here a long time ago. So, but we were able to go back about 5 generations on one side, and there's no history of breast cancer at all. There is history of other kinds of cancer, but those cancers were pretty much due to smoking and drinking and things of that nature, you know. But there was no breast cancer anywhere. I know something I got asked the other day was I in shock when I felt the lump? Yeah, I was. I was 39 years old. I was about to be 40. In fact, it was about 3 weeks before I turned 40. All of a sudden, there's something weird there that was never there before. At least not to the size that it was. So that threw me for a loop for sure. I don't know how else to explain it than that, but it threw me for a loop. There was definitely some fear, and there was definitely some confusion, even though I grew up knowing all this stuff. It's just part of what growing up as a female. So but still it threw me into a little bit of shock. Kind of got into a defense mode, almost like, okay, I've got to protect myself from what this could possibly be, and just not denial, but more of like, no, I've got to make sure this isn't breast cancer kind of mode, as opposed to let's just get it checked out and see what it is. So, for those of you that are going to be watching this later, this is going to be a little bit boring because it's just me talking. I don't have any questions coming in. Let's see. Another thing I've been asked repeatedly is, does chemo hurt? I guess that depends on your definition of hurt. All the stories you hear about losing hair and feeling drained and tired and worn out and defeated and just not yourself, and you have no appetite, you have to force yourself to eat, all that kind of stuff that you hear is 100% correct. But is it physically painful? No, it's not like there's a physical pain. It's except for being worn out and tired. Yeah, Dave, you're right. We do share everything. So I'm not real upset at you for not having any questions, because you've already been told all this stuff. So I'm not I'm not upset at that at all. Maybe what I need to do is next time is promote this somewhere. We'll talk about that in a minute. Anyway, oh, hi, Professor. How are you? Thank you for joining. So it wasn't chemo. I'm talking a little bit about questions I've been asked in the past. So one of the questions I've been asked before, Professor, is if chemo hurts. And I was explaining that no, it doesn't. Oh, thank you, Dave. Thank you for promoting. I appreciate it. The chemo itself wasn't painful, but it was very draining. All that, the movie, like you'll see stuff in the movies and on TV and stuff, and they do a pretty good job of kind of showing how tiring it is, but it's well beyond that. It's much more of a, there's the emotional component becomes very, very strong. I can remember after my second round, I can remember telling, I was staying at my best girlfriend's house after my chemo treatments. I'd stay there for a few days just because I couldn't even get out of bed the first day, much less be able to feed myself or things like that. But I remember telling her after the second round that I almost wish I had been throwing up and having some of the physical ailments that people commonly have or people associate with chemo, which I didn't have any. I wasn't throwing up. I didn't have diarrhea, none of that stuff. I was just very weak. Oh, really? Do you mind? He did, Professor, he did the chemo and radiation. Did he, do you happen to know if he did those together or if he did them separate? Mine was separate. I did chemo first. We didn't think I was going to need radiation, and then later it came back and I needed radiation. So I haven't done bariatric chamber though, and honestly, that isn't even something that we've talked about. It's not even on the table at this point. You did them separate. Yeah, my understanding is that most people do them separate, no matter what kind of cancer it is. Most people do the chemo and radiation separate. But I had some people. Well, there was two people while I was getting my chemo that were talking about how they would do chemo 1 week and the next week do a couple shots of radiation, and then the week after do chemo again. And I don't know what the reasoning was for that, but there was two people that I heard them talking about that while I was getting my chemo. But like I was saying a while ago, the chemo would just knock me on my butt. It was the emotional component that seemed to be more taxing than anything. Oh, he did the bariatric for separate. Okay. Well, that makes sense. And I'm gonna say this, guys. There's people responding right now, insulting me on other threads while I'm sitting here sharing a very personal story. I think it's kind of pathetic. I'm just gonna say that. Professor and Dave, you know what I'm talking about. So, back to my story. The and Professor, if you have questions, please feel free to ask. I'm sure your stepfather didn't go through breast cancer, so it might be some stuff that you have questions about, and I'll answer it best I can. The emotional component, like I was saying, that was the worst part. I felt very broken and very defeated, and I was telling her that that's exactly how I felt. I looked her straight in the eyes and I just started crying, and she said, "What's the matter?" And I said, "I'm broken. This isn't me. I'm not even able to feed myself." I mean, she went to our local grocery store, bought these little pre-made snack pack things, kind of, they had like veggies and fruits in them. And she would try to make me dinner and stuff, and it would be, I'd have like the kids portion and still have to, I still couldn't even eat that much. I'd be able to eat like 2 or 3 bites and that was it. Yeah, after your aunt used, yeah. Usually, well, the first round and second round, I was okay that night, but by the next day, I wouldn't know. I would know who everyone was, but I mean, because my best friend has been my best friend for 26 years. But I would wake up and not know where I was. I would, like, going to the bathroom, I wouldn't even, she would have to walk me to the bathroom before she would leave for work, and then like call me during the day to make sure that I was okay. And then when she got home from work, she would come in, first thing she would do, put her stuff down and come take me to the bathroom, because I couldn't even, not only could I not get out of bed, I didn't understand what to do for that first day after. Now, she never told me that my eyes glassed over or anything like that, but she did say that I didn't look like I was present, is how she would put it. I looked like I was somewhere else mentally. So I'm assuming it's pretty much the same thing. The scariest thing was after my fourth one, it was within like 2 hours that I was asleep and didn't wake up till the next day, and it scared the hell out of all of us because that's just not like me. getting high and joke about it. Yeah. I wouldn't say it was like getting high. I I could see why that would be a way for her to joke about it, but because yeah, you're totally displaced. You're totally displaced. You have no idea what's going on. And my particular brands of chemo, one of them was so strong that we could not do it any closer than 3 weeks apart. But we weren't allowed. One of them was one that pretty much cancer patients kind of standard get. But it was, so that one, I think you can do that one every week, but the other one, it was 3-week minimum in between. So it was very strong, very potent. Now I only did 4, but the most they'll let you do of that kind is 6 before they decide on a different kind of treatment. So I still got the higher end of it. The joking about it, Professor, I'm not real surprised. You know, to be truthful, you kind of have to. Otherwise you'll go insane. It's one of those things where, because everything feels so weighted down and so horrible, that the only way to be able to get through all of that is to make a joke. It'd be like, you know, swimming through mud is how it feels, you know. So it's not something that is easy to get through, obviously, but and people would get mad at me sometimes. They'd be like, how can you joke about this? And it's like, because this is how I'm surviving it. You know, first of all, I'm a smart aleck anyway, as you guys well know. But it was literally the only way I could get through some of that during the chemo time. After my mastectomy, excuse me, after that, it was, I stayed at my friend's house for a week, and during that week, I was so doped up on pain pills. It was crazy. First time in my life I'd taken codeine and was mixing that with Tramadol, which it was crazy, crazy, crazy. I don't even remember some of the stuff that happened that week. But after I went home, I started to realize that there was a part of me missing. And it wasn't, I had prepared myself since I started chemo in July that was going to happen. But there's only you can't prepare yourself completely. So there was things like driving where my seatbelt didn't fit right, because it's my left breast that is gone. So if I'm driving down the road, the seatbelt doesn't fit right. Putting on a t-shirt, not being able to lift your left arm above your rib cage because it hurts. So putting on t-shirts was difficult. You know, taking a shower, you can't reach over, you know, just where the soap is at. You have to wash yourself. That's where the physical reality of it started sinking in, and the difficulties that came along with healing from the surgery. Now that is pretty specific because it's healing from the surgery, but it also made it, the fact that I had something missing, much more real. It was constant reminders, even if I wasn't looking in the mirror, there's constant reminders there that it was, that there was something gone now. Something had been taken from me in a very defining way. On top of it, that's the other thing, is physical therapy. Oh no, they didn't give me physical therapy because first they wanted me to heal. It wasn't they needed me to heal first. I still had my drains. I had 2 drains in me for 2 weeks after the surgery. And they wanted to give me time to heal. And just about the time that we were starting the inflations, we started talking about physical therapy. I had 1 inflation done in the tissue expander, and that's when the cancer came back. So we never got a chance to get to the physical therapy part. I had a pretty good range of motion by the 2-month mark anyway. So when we started talking about, let's get the PT set up, it was already pretty much there. Getting me up and moving right away. No, there was stuff they had me do at home. There was exercises they had me do at home. Absolutely. Yeah, no, they didn't tell me to keep my arms still at all. But it was not the physical therapy where you go get the stretches and the massages and the ball exercises and things like that. There was just some, like, I had to stick my arm out and rotate. This one it always made me feel funny because I could do it anytime, anywhere. And so I would do it like, while I was cooking or something. But stick my arm straight out and rotate my wrist up for a count to 5, and then down to a count to 5, and then back up for a count to 5, and then back down. And I had to do that like 5 sets or 3 sets of 5, and then take a minute off, and then do another 3 set of 5. And I had to do 5 total. So it was, that was one of my favorite ones because I could literally do that one like while I was doing homework or whatever, sitting at my laptop. There was some stretching exercises and stuff, but not the hardcore PT where I went and, like I said, had the massages or had the real big stretching or the ball exercises and stuff. They wanted to hold off on that. So that was how the PT went. They advised me to go to counseling. As a matter of fact, my doctor, my oncologist, he's amazing. He's just awesome. As soon as he found out that I'm in school for getting my degree, he said, "So you're going to go to counseling, right?" That's how he put it. He didn't even ask me. He just told me, "You're going." So what I did at first was I went ahead and went through, because I can get it free at school. So I went ahead and went there at first. And then after that, I started speaking to a counselor that I've known for a few years, and she's amazing. She knows that there's times when I just, like, the week after my surgery, I just wasn't going to be in the mood to talk. So what she does is she keeps a spot open for me, to where even if what we do is just on the phone. So she's been amazing. At this point, we're down to where I'm talking to her about once a month, just because there's not such intense treatment going on. But at first, I was seeing somebody every week. Well, and to be honest, the first 2 sessions through the school were twice in 1 week, because the first one was let's get information, and then we set up an actual counseling session. So to be fair, that first intake one doesn't count, I guess, as an actual session, because it was just like 30 minutes to get an idea of what was going on. My oncologist offered to put me on some antidepressants at one point. I told him I would talk to my therapist first and see what she thought. This was after I was done with the school counseling. I was already seeing the lady that I know. And she said that she has no problem with me being on. Oh, I see it, Professor. Let me go in there and say yes right now. She said she had no problem with me taking antidepressants, but that she wanted me to make sure that I was taking them because I felt like I needed them myself, not just because, doctor said you should. And I remember stopping and going, well, why would the doctor recommend it if I don't need it? And so I asked him, I called him the next day. I said, why? He goes, well, a lot of patients need it, so I offer it just standard. I offer it to everybody and let the patient decide. He was like, I'm not making you do it. I just want you to know that I'll prescribe some. And I, at that point, decided, you know what, I'll wait and see. And that's exactly what I did. So I never ended up getting on antidepressants, but I still could right now if I wanted to. My counselor is totally supportive of that. She doesn't see any reason for me to not do that. Of course, as long as they don't, mess up with whatever medication I'm taking. And especially since I'm on pain meds right now, we'd have to be really careful. But again, the oncologist, it's his job to know that. Professor, I accepted it, just so you know. Sorry, I'm not very good at typing while I'm doing these at the same time like you guys are. I wish we had some more viewers because I'm sure there's some questions and stuff out there that would be, that I'm not thinking about, that would be really cool to answer. I'm trying to think of something. One thing I do get asked often is, do I have family support? Well, my family is very divided. And I have for a long. Oh, thank you, Dave. I hope they do, because right now it looks like it's just you and Professor. I appreciate that, Dave. Thank you for supporting me that way. A long time ago, I figured out that my blood relatives, not all of them, but quite a few of them, were not going to be family to me. That I have friends that become family. And so, yes, I have family support. So yes, I have family support from the people that are my family, and that includes both blood relatives and friends. So, Professor, maybe I'm biased because what I'm getting a degree in, but I think counseling is amazing. I don't see anything wrong with counseling. I know there are some people that kind of use it as a crutch and don't actually try to work through the issue. And I know that, and that's something that, is part of my training that we have to learn to watch out for, and kind of work through. But I don't, I, I can think of twice. I can think of twice where somebody needed to not go to counseling. And one of those wasn't even that the person didn't need to go to counseling. It was that they had been with their counselor for so long that they had become more like a grandmother-granddaughter relationship. So she needed to change counselors. And that's a little different. That can happen when you're with somebody for so long. That's just kind of part of what happens when you're having, very deep, intimate conversations with somebody on an emotional level, not, didn't, when I say intimate, I mean emotional, I mean personal, together, that kind of stuff. You can form a relationship with somebody so it's time to move on to another counselor. But the other person that I didn't think needed counseling was just looking for attention, to be honest. Oh my gosh, Professor. Yeah, you should have gone to counseling for that. Not your fault or not. I'm going to say this. I'm willing to bet there's still some guilt there. I'm willing to bet money on that. You could still go now. Just because it was 10 years ago doesn't mean you can't go now. You know that? I hope you know that. Yeah, in fact, I bet there's guilt and even some anger at yourself, whether it was your fault or not. I'd be willing to bet you feel those things every time you think about it. Like, why didn't I avoid this situation kind of anger, not, oh my God, I'm an idiot anger. But go to counseling. I totally support that. I don't think there's a reason you shouldn't. What, you were mad at the guy? Was it his fault? Oh, wow. Okay. I know anybody who listens to this later isn't going to be able to tell what I'm saying, but Professor here is telling me about an accident he was in where it was not his fault, but he was advised to get counseling and never did. So I'm telling him he should, because he's still got some residual feelings about it. I'm not going to, I mean, you're putting it in the chat, but Professor, but I'm not going to repeat all that unless you want me to, for people who listen to this later. So, oh, hey, Roberto, how are you? How you doing, man? Yeah, bad dreams from that kind of stuff is totally understandable, Professor. I'm not surprised by that at all. Like I said, I would recommend counseling for sure. Roberto, just to get you caught up a little bit, it's, a Q&A session about my journey of breast cancer. Currently in treatment and stuff like that. So if you have any questions, please ask. Well, he gave you bad dreams, Professor. The bad dreams are because of the emotional side of things that you feel. Dreams are not always, they're not always as Freudian as we like to think. Sometimes our bad dreams are because there's something in our subconscious, yes, which is Freudian, but there's something in our subconscious that we need to work through, and it's not always the way that Freud describes it, where there's something stopping us. It could be something new that's happening to us. Him having TBI is, traumatic brain injuries are no fun, and that young man, whether he can remember what he did or not, he's got to live with that for the rest of his life, what he did. But I'm more worried about you, Professor. So, if you want to talk about getting some counseling, let me know, and I'll kind of give you an idea of what kind of stuff you need to look for. Yeah, but bad memories, dude, those, you still need help with that. It's not, if having a bad memory and having something that bothers you every day are two different things. Bad memories come up because something reminds you, not because it's something you live through every day. So I would recommend getting counseling. I just had somebody text me. They said that they're not able to get on wherever they're at. I guess they don't have a great Wi-Fi, but wherever they're at. But they just texted me and asked me how young you should start checking yourself as a woman. Well, in my opinion, because not every female develops breasts at the same time, you should start checking yourself when you start wearing a real bra, not just a training bra. Now, a lot of people think that's extreme, but breast cancer does not discriminate on age. Is it more likely to happen when you're closer to 40? When you're 40 and up? Yes. Statistically, yes. 100% true. So that's why they tell us to start getting mammograms at 40. However, that doesn't mean it doesn't happen to women who are younger. I've never heard it. I personally have never heard of anybody having it as young as 12 or 13, but what's to say that isn't going to happen? So that's why I recommend that. Once you're actually into a real bra, you should start checking at least every other month. If you're not going to do it every month, at least every other month. That's my opinion. Robert, thank you for that. Sorry that your cousin went through that through breast cancer, but thank you for the prayers. I appreciate it. That reminds me of another question I get asked quite often. Am I pissed off at God? Yeah, there's times I am. I'm not going to lie. There are times I am looking at the sky and like, what the hell? Why are you doing this to me? What did I do? And people will say karma's a bitch. Well, I look back at my life and there's nothing I can think of, nothing that anybody who's known me for any significant amount of time can think of that says, hey, you did this, so this is karma. So I have to kind of look at it like there must be something in it that I'm going to be able to take away from it to help others. Again, otherwise I'll go crazy. But yeah, I get mad at God sometimes for this. I don't stop believing, but I definitely get mad. And there are people who will hear me say that and be pissed off that I'm even thinking it. Well, tough. That's how I feel about that. I'm allowed to feel whatever I need to feel to make it through this. And it may not be what, as a Christian, we're supposed to think and do, but you know what? My relationship with God is mine. So that's how that goes. I just got another text from somebody else that asked if I'm actually online. Well, I guess since you guys can see me, I must be on there. So that's kind of weird. But the question is, do I ever feel like the treatment will never stop because of the kind of cancer I have? Okay, let me explain something about breast cancer. There is, I'm sorry, Dave, I don't understand what you mean. There is something about breast cancer that, there's a lot of things about breast cancer that are very definitive, but mine is metastatic, which means that there is, it has spread to other parts of my body, which it's stage 4 is what most people know it as. But the thing is, with breast cancer, unlike other kinds of cancer, that means that I will have cancer for the rest of my life. That doesn't mean that I will have active cancer for the rest of my life. It doesn't mean anything like that. I can at some point go into remission, but it will always be a part of what I have to deal with. That doesn't mean I won't have a long life. That doesn't mean I won't have many, many years to come. It just means that the cancer cells have basically entwined themselves with the regular cells. So there's no, instead of it being I'm cured, I'll be in remission at some point. And yeah, that sucks. Yeah, that hurts my feelings, quite honestly. Not that it's anybody's fault. Not that it's anything anybody did. It was just the way it ended up being. But it's something that means that no matter how long I'm alive, I'm going to have to wonder about. I'll be on hormone therapy for the rest of my life. I had to take my ovaries out because my cancer was something called estrogen receptor positive, or ER positive. And what that means is that basically the receptors in the cells, the cancer cells, eat the estrogen like it's a buffet. It's like a steroid shot for cancer cells, like, for lack of a better way to put it. So we had to take my ovaries out because that's where the estrogen center is for women. And the little bit of estrogen that's left in our adrenal glands and our fatty cells, I have to take hormones to basically destroy the receptors in the rest of my body that take that estrogen so that the cancer won't feed. And that's a very laid back explanation for it. There's a lot of technical knowledge to it that, quite frankly, is boring, but it's just easiest to explain it that way. So, which, you know what, honestly, as far as getting my ovaries out, I'm fine. I'm 40 years old. My youngest child just turned 14. I'm not going to have any more. So, they were just sitting there taking up space at this point. There's a lot of benefits to not having your ovaries. Sure you guys can imagine some of that. But yeah, so that means I'll be on hormone therapy for the rest of my life. Which kind of sucks because those hormone shots go in your butt, and it's one on each side, and it's a thicker needle because the medicine itself is a little bit thicker than normal. So it's not water-like like most shots are. So they have to use a bigger needle. There's a lot of confusion that goes along with this kind of diagnosis and treatment, because the doctors are standing there going, what if we do this, what if we do that, what if we do this, what if we do that? And if you don't understand it and you don't stop the doctor and go, hey, speak to me in English, then you're going to get lost. And I'm lucky enough that I grew up around medicine, so there's a lot of things that I know because of that. I grew up, my dad's a hematologist, so I grew up around a lot of medical knowledge, but there's a lot of stuff that I don't know because hematology is a lot different than oncology. So I have to constantly stop them and ask them, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? And my doctors are really awesome. My oncologist, he's able to explain things in an easy to understand way, and he'll take as much time as he needs to do it. My surgeon, um, he's very direct and to the point, so there's not a lot of technical bluff anyway. And then my plastic surgeon is just really laid back, kind of easygoing, soft-spoken, just calming kind of guy. But you know, when you ask him questions, he's ready to answer them too. So I'm really lucky to have such a great team that I can have those kind of conversations with. It's definitely a benefit for that. Dave, you said huh, but I don't know why. I don't know what it is that you're asking about. Let's see. I only plan to do this for an hour, so I guess another 20 minutes or so. But yeah, there's definitely some more things that happened. Oh, my surgery last Wednesday. After the radiation messed up my tissue expander, we had to take that out. Oh, well, okay, Dave, why somebody is texting. One person is texting because she said she can't get a signal to get onto YouTube where she's at. The other person said that she can't find me on YouTube. So she couldn't find the broadcast. Or he. The second person was a he. I'm sorry. So that's why. The first one not having a signal for the internet wherever they're at, I guess, I don't know. I don't know why. Or they said that their internet isn't working is what they said when they texted. So whatever. I'm not real worried about it. The question got put out there, so I was able to answer it. Oh yeah, the tissue expander. So got that removed last Wednesday, and it was, the result is that I was not as disabilitated as I was after my getting it put in, because I had my breast removed at the same time. In fact, I got to go home that same day when I had my mastectomy and had the expander put in. I stayed in the hospital for 3 days. But it was still just as much of a shock to see it. It wasn't as horrifying because I knew that my breast was already gone. So seeing everything change was definitely much worse than seeing just the expander come out. But it looks weird. And I have only been able to look at myself in the mirror, I think 3 times since last Wednesday. 3 or 4 times, just because it's hard to see. And, you know, we're back to that emotional component. There's several times that I avoid certain situations or certain things just because I don't want to deal with the emotional side of it when it comes to my breast cancer. I don't blame anybody. I mean, I'm just lucky freak. We did a genetics test. We did both genetics tests. There's no genetic reason. There's no family history. I don't do anything that contributes to the risks of getting any kind of cancer. So it's one of those things that happen. But but emotionally, there is a lot of tearing or a lot of damage done, a lot of tearing up. You know, there's times that I just want to sit in my bed and eat chocolate pudding and drink sweet tea all day. And obviously that's not very healthy. That's not the way to eat or to drink all day long. Oh, well, sweet tea, I'm sorry, I do that. But it's, you know, there's times that's how emotionally drained I am. I just want to curl up in a ball and do nothing. So, but that's how it goes. I really can't think of anything else to say right now, so I think I might end this early after all. I didn't really put an end time on it. I just kind of decided after I got going how long it was going to be. So, anyone that's still on, if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask them. I might do another one of these some other day just to kind of get it back out there. I don't know. Sure, Dave, but I don't know how to invite you. So if you can send me on Messenger how to do that. I don't know how to invite you in. We can do that for sure. That would be really cool, actually. If you can walk me through it anyway. I gotta say this, Dave, while you're sending me those instructions, there were people that I knew were going to kind of back out of my life when this all started, and there were people who I knew were going to stick around, but I don't know that I was necessarily correct. There were some that I was right about, some that I wasn't. Let's see. Top of your Hangouts with a plus sign. Oh, okay. Do you want me to just copy this and paste it and send it to you instead? Or do you want me to actually do the email? Dave, which one is better? For you anyway. I guess since you said the email. Okay. Hold on one second. This is my first time like using this in a group setting, so it's kind of new for me. So everybody listening, sorry. Okay, I hope I did that right. There you are.
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah. Cool. I finally did something technologically advanced. Anyway, so welcome, Dave. What's up?
So nothing. I just popped on to, maybe I could help facilitate this. I don't know.
Does it show like? Will it show that you're on a live show now on your page?
Oh, I don't know. That would be interesting. That's a great idea. You should put that as a suggestion to them, because we know that this is kind of the way of the future of YouTube, as they're trying to weed out what content they don't like. That they're going the way of this. This is a cheap way for them to make money.
Right. Because that would be.
So it'd be interesting.
Yeah. I feel like I've been talking for 50 minutes. Oh, I don't know who all's still here. I know Roberto was here and Professor was here and you, but I don't know who all is still hanging out. That's another thing. They should like have a way for me to see who all's actually in the room without having to type it in. That would be cool. Anyway, okay, so the professor's still here.
Yeah, he is for sure.
And looks like Roberto's still here too. Cool.
You look, you're making friends on the other side of the world and all over the country.
Wow. I'm pretty cool that way. So, for anybody who's listening now and who listens later, those of you that don't know Dave, he's one of my best friends, and he and I met while we were in college together in an economics class with one of the best professors ever. Doesn't matter what course you're taking. That man is one of the best professors on the planet. But that's how Dave and I met, and we became friends really fast and stayed friends since then. So that's who Dave is. Yes, hi, Professor. I saw that you're still here. Anyway, Dave, what do you want to say?
I think that this is good for you. I hope it's therapeutic for you coming on here and talking about this. I hope that the next session that you do, we both need to promote it. Here's one way to do. We'll talk about scheduling as well, but
Hmm.
here's one way to do it. When you go on live and you look at your Facebook, you look at your YouTube page, that this one that we're on right now, not the Hangouts,
Hmm.
you can put that link on Facebook and your friends will see it and you can say, hey, I'm live right now. Visit if you want to discuss blah 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 blah. And I think that that's one way to promote the video. I would put it in. I'll talk to Rona and see if she can put you in YouTuber Hangouts, and you can get a broader audience that way.
Okay.
And that reminds me, Professor X, make sure you get into that YouTuber Hangout with Rona if you're not already, because when you start your own channel, you're gonna want to have some way of promoting it. And Facebook is a great way to promote YouTube videos.
Yeah, that's I know you've quite often actually. I've seen you put that your broadcast is going to be on there on Facebook. So I agree with you. It's an amazing way to get it done. In fact, some
Okay,
of the
yeah,
videos you post, I just share that hey, guess what? He's going to be on.
yes, he's in that YouTuber Hangouts. We need. I'll talk to Rona and see if she can add April. She's heard April. Rona was going to come on or come into your live chat and listen. Also, she had a friend. Oh, see, Professor X is a moderator in that channel. I didn't know that. That's cool. She had a friend that died from breast cancer because Rona couldn't get her the money for the treatment. That was what I was trying to say last night. My whole story kind of petered out when that woman died of TB. And I'm not going to bring it back up here. I don't want to invalidate anything that you're doing because
Hmm.
what you're doing is important not only for you but for other people because it's going to educate somebody. But
Right.
the biggest thing is over here is that you pay to play in the medical field, and if you just don't have money, you're gone. There's just no way around it, and they'll leave your body sitting there so you can pay to get your body out.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of wow. There's just no other word for it.
When I can't even say her name right now. I can't. When she passed in the hospital, her husband said he had no way of getting her out of there. Between May and I and some good dear friends that are expats in the UAE, we all collected enough money to get her body out of the morgue and get her buried.
That's
That kind of stuff is not uncommon here at all. So I think Rona wanted to ask you some questions about that. So I'll see if she's got time to come on. She's an expat too, and she cooks all day long in Singapore. So I don't know if she can get on or not. But I know she was curious about the whole thing. I also know Holly would probably want to be on and listen to what's going on and ask questions as well. She's a very good person that would like to listen to this kind of stuff.
cool.
I don't want to. I'm not trying to step on your broadcast, but I've been doing this for about 3 months now, and I know I'm not an expert at it, but I kind of know how to connect things. And I think that this type of broadcast is not only a niche, and obviously you're not doing it for money, but it has merit for both you and for the audience. I think that this could become a big thing.
Yeah. I'll take any help I can get. When I don't know what I'm doing. Shoot. I mean, let me get the help from somebody who at least knows more than me so that I can do it the right way. I'm fine with that. Do you want me to wait now and see if you can get them on, or do you want to just try it for next time?
I say try it this time because I already explained it to them
Hmm.
very plainly, and she's probably busy, and some of the other girls were interested. They seemed receptive to the idea of coming on here, but they're
Hmm.
also one of the things about Filipinos, they're very shy about their English.
Gotcha. I
And
guess.
yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, that was pretty much it. As long as you're aware of that, you're not bad about this kind of stuff, but there are some people that will correct their English and stuff like that, and that doesn't float well. That's just embarrassing for them.
Right. Well, and I can always make a disclaimer and say, this is going to be people from all over the place. So let's remember, not everybody has English as their first language.
I just
I
think
don't have.
being aware of it is sufficient. That's just my opinion. I think what you're doing here is good, and I got to tell you, just ignore as much as you can. It's always tempting to. I do it because I like fucking with them, but
Mhm.
ignore the trolls as much as possible, and I think you'll be fine. Oh my god, pancakes! I don't know what to think. Banana
Rona's
pancakes. Arr.
banana pancakes. Rona's on Facebook right now, I guess. Um,
Rona, yeah, she should be on Facebook.
um, yeah, no, I'm ignoring them. Like I said on your cast the other day, or maybe it was this morning. I don't know. I'm getting my days mixed up now. Um, I don't have. There's nothing they're saying that is making me feel detrimental, but it's drawing the focus away from what's going on. It's now become all about attacking me as opposed to let's discuss what's happening. And that's what I have a problem with. It's like, I mean, the stuff that's being said today on those other threads, it's stupid and ridiculous. What does any of that have to do with the situation at hand?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I are you sure you want to talk about that here? Because I'm willing to
No,
forego it, but if you want to, we can.
no. I was just addressing because it got brought up. But yeah, we can talk about that later. Um, Mr. Tux, it's kind of funny that you just said that. We're not going to discuss those people. If you want to, we can have another broadcast about it. I kind of want this one to be focused on um, my breast cancer. I plan to start doing a series of stuff like this, not necessarily a vlog kind of thing, but just a Q&A kind of thing. So we can do another broadcast if that's something you're interested in. Let me know. But for just this one, we're just going to talk about the breast cancer. We just touched on it a little bit because, I mean, my phone has lit up, I don't know, 30 times just since I've been on in this last hour with people talking about me on other things. So that's why it got mentioned.
You know, April, I was thinking of something also when you're doing these live feeds about your cancer. One of the
Hmm.
things that you might just a suggestion. One of the things you might want to talk about. One, you could spend an entire hour. You could probably spend 2 or 3 hours
Hmm.
talking about how your friends and family reacted to this because and that's as much as you want to share obviously, but you and I both know you're not always going to get the expected outcome from even the closest people to you.
Yeah, yeah. I think, yeah, actually, I did. I started talking about that a second ago. Um, my my family, it's very divided. There are members of my family who I have no relationship with. There are members of my family who I have a very distanced relationship with, and then there's other members of my blood family that I am very close to, like my nana, a couple of my aunts, um, some of my cousins. But there's I have grown up knowing that, or having to know that sometimes it's friends that make your family and not blood. And there's a lot of people who don't understand that, and a lot of people who can't fathom that idea, but that's how it is. Um, when it came to the reaction of people, let's see. Um, my best girlfriend, of course, she was crying with me, and she was there when I got the diagnosis, the official diagnosis. She was crying with me, and we were making plans about how we were going to do things and how she was going to step up and take care of me during certain times and all this stuff. And um, the guy who is now her boyfriend, he has been very supportive of her doing that. He's supporting her so that like she can go to him and cry about it instead of coming to me when she's upset about my treatment, or something about my treatment is bothering her. She doesn't have to come to me. Which sometimes that's a good thing. Other times I kind of wish she would cry with me. It would make me feel a little better, and she knows that, but it's just her way of being able to deal with it is she can't do that with me. Otherwise she's going to feel like she's letting me down. But then there's people in my family, my bloodline, that have talked to me 1 or 2 times total since I got diagnosed. And really and truly, one of the times it was because I reached out to that person. It was a very quick response, and that was it. I've had people like Dave who, even though he's not here, physically here, I feel an immense amount of support from, emotionally and spiritually. I feel that. Then there's other people who, as soon as the diagnosis came in, started slowly but surely taking steps back from the relationship, and just now are not even in the picture anymore. There's people who, and this was one of my favorite things, just happened to coincide with the recent election here in America, and so people use the election as a reason to stop talking to me, but then would go around and tell other people that they couldn't handle seeing me sick, and that was the real reason they stopped talking to me. So people started lying to me even. Yeah.
Who the fuck did that?
A couple of people from school that, wow. Yeah, that I had, there are some people at school who legitimately stopped being friends with me because of different viewpoints on the election. But the 3 people I'm thinking of specifically, that it was more the emotional side and they just didn't want to be honest with me. We've known each other since, one of them I've known since SAC. I don't think you ever met him, because it was my last semester that I met him. The other 2 ladies were people I met at UTSA, and they've all 3 said they didn't want me to feel bad because of how they felt, basically. And it's like, just tell me the truth. You don't want to be friends with me because you can't handle seeing me sick. Just be honest. There's nothing that says there's nothing that says you have to lie to me. But I did have a couple of family members, and this was the worst. I just, even thinking about it, I'm getting mad, but this is a couple of family members who turned it into about them. So it was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do because April has cancer? What am I going to do? How's that going to affect me? As opposed to actually being supportive of me and worrying about me. It was, how was this going to hurt them? And, or affect them. And
question for you. I'm sorry I have to interrupt, but I got to ask this question because it'll tie us together. What do you do with family members like that turn things around and make it all about them? What do you personally do?
Well, one of them, I think you know who I'm talking about. Well, I don't want to say anything on here, but if you want, I'll clarify who it is later with you. But one of them has just been that way my whole life. So my entire life, it's just been keeping them at a distance and having to remind myself that that's never going to change. The other one that surprised me on it, what I had to do was, after a few weeks of all of this, I had to tell him, he's one of my cousins. Actually, he's one of my dad's cousins, but we've been pretty close because we're the same age. He's like 1.5 years older than me. But I finally had to tell him, look, this isn't about you, and I understand that this is a shock for you. I understand this is scary for you, and I can deal with that. But every time we talk, you turn it into poor, pitiful you. I'm going to stop talking to you. I'm not going to tell you anything else about it, because I can't handle that right now. I don't have the mental, physical, or emotional strength to walk you through what I'm suffering through. And he got very angry. He said that he wasn't trying to do that, and he thought I would understand that that, especially considering what I'm going to have a degree in, he thought I would understand. And I said, no, I don't. And I don't have to understand right now. I'm allowed to be selfish about this. And I haven't talked to him since July.
Oh, I'm not laughing at the situation, but my God, how do you? That's almost hobo level pretzel logic right there.
Yeah. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I can understand people going, okay, wait, do I have to act different now? How do I handle how I talk to her? Yeah, I can get that, because all of a sudden it's like there's this big elephant in the room of we don't want to upset her because we don't want to stress her out because that's bad for her. But on the other hand, it's not about your pain and your confusion and your suffering either. It's, when I say your, I mean the other person, not mine. It's about mine. It's one of the few times you will ever hear me in my entire life say, I'm going to be selfish. This is about me. You know? So it was really kind of funny and silly too for me at the time, because it was the week before I started treatment was when I had this conversation with him. And I haven't spoken to him since. He hasn't reached out. I mean, he hasn't blocked me on Facebook. I can still see what's going on. And the family reunion page and stuff, I can still see everything he posts, but he hasn't reached out to me one time. Yeah, Mr. Tux, when people feel uncomfortable, you're right. They do stupid things. I totally agree. And that's, I give allowance for that, because I do stupid things when I'm upset. I mean, but I mean, this has been since July and he hasn't even checked to see how I'm doing. And this is somebody, like I said, that's only about 1.5 years older than me. So it's not like it's not like he's my dad's age. He's my age. We kind of grew up, and he's one of like 3 people on that side of the family that I'll actually call cousin instead of like second cousin or something like that. So, but it's, yeah, those are the two. There's well, and there's another person that is not a family member, but is a good friend that quite often will just change the topic of conversation to about herself. And so I've kind of gotten to the point of just not talking to her about it. You know, if she asks me how I'm doing, I let her know, but I don't reach out to her very much anymore, because I don't really need it to turn around into, if I'm reaching out and I need support, I don't need to be worrying about if you're going to actually be supportive for that 5 or 10 minutes that I'm reaching out to you. I need to be able to know that I'm going to have that. Now, after that, when I'm done and I'm ready to listen, then okay, I'm ready to listen. But until that moment, let me get what I need, you know? So, and yeah, Dave, you're right. People do get uncomfortable because it's in the hands of somebody else, medicine and or God. You're right. It doesn't matter what decisions I make. Ultimately, the cancer is going to make its own decisions too. So I have to put full faith and trust in somebody else to fix it for me. And it's really scary and hard sometimes. It's like, it's not like with the flu or something where you can just take a couple pills and you know you're going to be fine in a few days. You know, this is something that attacks your whole body. No matter what stage you're at, your whole body is affected. And if medicine can't fix it, and if whatever God you believe in can't fix it, then who's going to be able to? So it's a pretty scary thought. I don't know. Did I answer your question, Dave?
Yeah, actually.
Okay. I will say also there's been some family members that I usually keep at a distance that they use their personal expertise in whatever facet of knowledge they have to kind of be a gateway to be able to show their kind of support for me. Like, I don't want to call anybody out, but like for me, for counseling, it would be the same idea as me going and saying, here, I can't officially do a therapy session for you because we're a family member, but let me give you some guidance. Let me help you through some of this, because that's my expertise. or human resources. You know, I mean, you wouldn't believe how many times I have friends that come up to me and go, "Hey, I'm changing jobs. I need to know which benefit plan is best for me." You know, it's my level of expertise, so here, let me offer that to you. That's happened with some people, which has been kind of a relief, because then, you know, if I think of something at 7 o'clock at night, I don't have to wait until the next day and call the doctor and wait for them to call me back, and, you know, things of that nature. So that's been kind of nice. Tux, they have offered me to give me antidepressants. They have offered that. My counselor and I discussed it, and she asked me if I wanted to take them for me or just because the doctor was suggesting it. And I had to think about it. My doctor said that he standard offers it to everybody because this is a hard time, and most people do need it. And I realized for myself that it wasn't something that I felt I needed. It was something that I felt I was expected to take because he had offered it. And he didn't mean it that way. It's just something he generally offers. So I decided not to take antidepressants. And to be fair, my counselor knows that I'm studying counseling as well. So she's pretty diligent every time we talk and asking me some questions and things like that to kind of rate my level of how I feel and where I stand. So it's not something that anybody has felt I need to be on the lookout for at this point, but it is something that at any given moment I can call my doc and say, "Hey, please give me a prescription," and I'll have it right there, even at one of the 24-hour pharmacies if needed. So I believe in antidepressants too. A lot of people don't. A lot of people I know don't like the way they make them feel, but I believe in antidepressants. I believe that having that little extra balance, because it balances things out for you neurologically and chemically, hormonally in your body. I believe having that little extra balance so that you can focus on the emotion side as opposed to the physical side. I believe in that wholeheartedly, but it's my level of depression hasn't gotten, in fact, the way it was said to me is that being sad and angry at the situation doesn't necessarily mean I'm depressed, and I haven't met the criteria for depression, to be honest, at all. But it is something that my doctor offered, so. Trying to think what else I could say. I don't know, Dave, can you think of any other questions?
No, and honestly, I would cut this one soon, not because unless it's doing something extra for you, because you could do several things with this. You could turn this into a self-help blog. You could turn this into a Q&A. You could be both. You could be educating people. I think it's a good starting place.
Yeah. Yeah, I intended it to be about an hour, and we're at like an hour and 10 now, so.
Mr. Tuck said it's common practice for the elderly when they get sick. Antidepressants.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
It seems to be commonplace for the entire United States these days. Half the people are on antidepressants, and half of them don't even need them.
Don't even need them, right? It's antidepressants they're going down the same road as ADHD medicine. You show us, 1 moment sign, and all of a sudden you're on them. And I don't agree with that. I don't think that that's okay. I think you need to actually have, being sad about something for a day or two is different than being depressed about it. And also, being depressed doesn't necessarily have to be permanent. Not everybody who's depressed has a depression disorder. So it's very shaky ground, but yeah, it is pretty common practice for the elderly to get prescribed when they get sick. Now, that doesn't mean they always use them, but yeah, it is pretty common practice. No, but I agree with you, Dave. I think this is a good stopping point because, I kind of want to be able to do some more of these as time goes on. And, I don't want it to be that we sit here in silence for the next 45 minutes either. So I think I'm going to go ahead and say thanks to everybody who listened in. Thanks for the thumbs ups. Thanks for the questions. They were great. Dave, if you'll hold on after I get off the air, I want to ask you something.
Sure.
But I will do this again. I'm not sure when, but at some point. And thank you, everyone who listened in and asked questions. Please feel free to ask me questions for next, or save your questions and ask them for me for next time. And I am out of here. Thank you, guys.